sure the air conditioning was turned on.
Yeah, I see.
Next item is public comment. First one is Janet Mock, construction.
I don't believe the board really knows what's happening. I said before that I work for Boyertown Municipal Authority, Sewer Authority, that receives the sewer from Coverdale Elementary, the administration building, the maintenance building, the baseball stadium, the football stadium, junior high, east, and Coverdale Elementary. There is a protocol that must be followed. Is EI truly following that protocol? Do they even know what it is? Mr. Musso and EI Associates attended a Coverdale Township Planning Committee meeting on January 17, 2013. The Coverdale solicitor, Mr. Carter, informed Mr. Musso and EI what was needed to be completed. They have not been back. I would say that the board members have taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker, do not know what is happening. Realistically, how can you believe the information that you were given by the administration and your associates? You could not possibly start any construction in October 2013. You haven't taken the plans to the Coverdale Township Commission for approval. Once they approve, they have to go to the Coverdale Township Commissioners. And a traffic study has to be done. I heard at the last meeting, board meeting, that a traffic study is being done. But does EI even know that that is a state highway? So the state has to be involved with this. Good luck with getting their approval. I don't know where the sewer for the new construction will end up, but I do know that the sewer authority will also need to review the plans to be sure that they will have the capacity to accept the flow. The water company is Boyertown, I'm assuming, and they most likely will have to approve the plans to assure they can supply the water usage. Last but not least, you will need DEP approval. Once again, good luck. You will not start construction in October 2013. The board has spent over $350,000 and the meter is still running. Nothing set in stone, nothing to show for it. I would truly like to know if choosing EI was by the rule book. Did the school board choose EI or were they chosen for you? Did you pull them out of a hat? What is the total amount that will be paid when the job is completed to EI? And last but not least, I think it is highly inappropriate for a solicitor to sit at a board meeting and be texting during the meeting. His attention should be focused on the meeting. It truly looks undignitary on TV, because this is on TV. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Charles Haddad and use of the building.
Well, thank you, Mr. President and Board. I guess I have given the appearance of being an antagonist at most of the meetings, and it's not my normal personality. I really can be a consensus builder, and for that reason, I like to offer to volunteer to be on the ad hoc committee for the public. In addition to myself, I'd also like to offer Hugh Kelly, class of 53, Penn, class of 57, for that committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, approval of minutes of May 6th. We need a motion to approve the minutes. Donna seconded, Ms. Simmons. Any questions or comments? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, next time, let's turn over to you, Dave.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Crossley. First thing we want to talk about tonight is owner-controlled insurance program. I did hand out copies of the PSBA program that has proven to be quite successful over the throughout the state over the last decade or so. Unfortunately, none of the insurance professionals could be here tonight. I also included at your place, and it was in your packet on Friday, was a Wikipedia of owner-controlled insurance programs. And I thought that in doing my investigation that it was a very concise and simple way to explain owner-controlled insurance. A couple of things I'd like to review with you in that the Wikipedia. If you look at the advantages to the owner, the lower cost to the property owner is a bulk purchase of insurance. Instead of having each and every contractor provide their own insurance, we would be the master controller of the insurance. Owner-controlled insurance broker and underwriter requires more stringent safety, that is for sure. PSBA would be on site to investigate all accidents instead of waiting for several different insurance companies that represent several different contractors from coming in and doing their cost analysis. Reduction in time for contractors to obtain insurance certificates. They wouldn't need to because we would be providing those for the entire project. The X mod factor, because we're buying in bulk, we're actually going to get a better price than if we would put 4, 5, 10 different contractors' insurance policies together. Improve risk control and claim handling. Obviously, there'd be no finger pointing, and the peace of mind to know that we control the insurance and we're not at the mercy of some contractor. The disadvantages to the owner, which are really mitigated because of the PSBA program, the increased administration burden for the broker and underwriter, that's what they get paid to do. I just talked to Sean Sable from PSBA today, and also Gary Minen, the broker who represents the OSIP program, and they actually take on most of that burden. The accounting effort is required to isolate the contractor and subcontractor cost of the insurance burden. We would not be doing that because we would go with the direct method, which would get us the cost of the insurance, and it's based on a dollar figure per thousand, and we would be looking at saving somewhere close to $100,000 at least by doing this ourselves. And then the potential for contractors insured under the OSIP grant. Yeah, so those three bullets would pretty much be mitigated by PSBA, who's really stepped up in representing school districts in a very positive way through construction. So this would help us out quite a bit. The way it works is that when contractors put their bids together, when the specs are finally completed, and we put those out on the street, they're going to put their materials and their hourly wages and their overhead for management and everything that goes into running their contracting business. And one of those overhead items is insurance. And normally what they do is they get a quote from their insurance company, whether they're a good risk or a bad risk would depend on what kind of rate. But they would plug that into their base amount for the cost of working on our construction project. And what they do at the end is they put a profit margin on every single piece. So we're basically taking that away from their bid, and they should come in with very bids that are a lot more aggressive and don't include that overhead item of insurance, because we're going to be covering it for every single one of our contractors. So I know that I received several questions from board members. We had put on the PlanCon Part E that was approved on Tuesday. That our intent is to use the owner-controlled insurance program. And based on the history that has been supplied to me from PSBA and the almost 100 projects that they've done this owner-controlled insurance program through, we as administrators feel that this is the best way to go and will actually save us cost in the long run. Yes, Mrs.
First of all, I don't know what it's, any idea what it's going to cost, or how they figure out the cost for us. And secondly, how did you figure out that we would save $100,000? How did you figure that? If you said, because I asked, one of my questions was, when they did, do they list the insurance separately? And you said it's listed in the overall cost, and then so it's not listed separately.
Well, the contractors don't break that out separately in their bid.
Right. So how do you determine that we're saving $100,000? Is my question.
Well, we could bid this two ways. There's two ways to do it. One is on a quote basis, where the contractors would give us their quote with insurance and without it. So that's going to tell us whether we're going to save money or not. But the cost of the insurance that we would have to pay for is a little bit more expensive. It's $27 per $1,000 of coverage.
27 per thousand?
Right.
How do you know that it's more? I mean, what did you use to determine that?
Well, because the insurance company is taking a risk by allowing the comparison by school boards. And what happened, this program came into existence almost 12 years ago. Many school districts did the quote method, which said, okay, general contractor, plumbing contractor, electrical contractor, submit your bid, one with insurance, and then give us an alternate without insurance. And then they compared all the insurance quotes and the savings to what they would have been paying PSBA. And that's how they determined that they were saving money. Since it's been proven over and over again that this OSIP program does save money, and a good example is the Coatesville School District, who's done several projects over the last 5 years or so. They started out by doing a quote on their first 2 projects, and every project since has been on the direct method. Now, the direct method is where we just build into the specifications to all the contractors, do not include insurance. We have it covered through owner-controlled insurance program, and for that we pay $25 per thousand. So right there is a savings of $2 times an estimated $45 million of quote price. So that's $90,000 right there. Now, because we have several projects that we're looking at doing over the next few years, PSBA feels they can go to Liberty Mutual, who's the underwriter for this program, and get us an even better rate. So if we can get, compare the 27, which is the quote rate, to maybe 23, now we're saving $4 per thousand. Now you're talking $180,000 in savings. So that's why I said 100, so between 90 and 100,000 would be the initial savings between the quote method and the direct method.
Question, Drew?
I'm a little bit confused. So if you just mentioned the rating of the various contractors, if they don't have a good rating, they would obviously be paying more for insurance. How would we know that?
We would.
We wouldn't know if I were.
But that's one of the disadvantages for the contractor, because somebody that has a very good history and has very few claims, they could make a point to the school board, well, if I quoted my rate because I get super premium, wonderful rates, I'm probably, right in line with the OSIP program that you're looking at. But we don't know that. And we have to go with a low bid, so we may not select that.
Well, what if they really bad and they can't even get insurance?
They would be qualified under ours.
And we would pay an additional premium
No.
for that? That I can't believe, sorry. If somebody's uninsured, they're uninsured, insurable. And we'd be paying a hefty premium, I would feel. If not, that program wouldn't work.
I don't agree, so. I don't know, what do you have to base that supposition on?
Well, anybody that buys insurance, if you're a risk, you pay a much higher premium. You could become a risk to the point where you're uninsurable.
I would doubt those people would be in business very long and bidding on a project of this size. if
Well,
would
they
be
wouldn't
uninsured.
have to if somebody like us is gonna pay their insurance for them. Do you know what I'm saying? So that
Yeah.
wouldn't, they could still be in business.
But that will not affect our rate, only because of the economies of scale.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, but to this point, can it affect the quality of our project? Like, we could be bringing in contractors that otherwise couldn't get their own insurance through this process, if I understand it right.
Well, if they're that bad of a,
They might be a little bit, or,
but they have to be the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay, you missed responsible in your earlier
Okay.
statement.
okay,
Who determines that?
yeah, that's determined.
Well, they would have to give us references and.
Well, that was my question. Does PSBA vet the people that are bidding so that they know that these are responsible contractors? Like if it's coming down to, say, there's 3, and maybe 2 of them don't have insurance and 1 of them does, if there's a much higher bid, would PSBA be telling us that those
companies aren't as reliable as the one that has the higher bid.
They would take responsibility to cover the entire project, regardless of their bidding.
I know, well, I know, but it, isn't would not PSBA vet the bids?
We sort of take the lowest bid, right?
Responsible.
Those responsible bid.
Right, I'm sorry.
We can look at a
So
bid, and if it doesn't look like it's a responsible organization, we don't have to accept it.
Okay.
So who's going to vet the contractors then, I guess is my question.
Well, who's
If
gonna vet the
PS
contractors if we allow them to quote their own insurance?
But then they have insurance. The other way, we don't know whether they do or not. Right?
I think what she's getting at
But
is if we don't provide the insurance the contractor has to, part of the bid, if they can't get insurance, they can't bid.
Okay.
Then that's the point you were trying to make, Kelly.
Well, trying, but the other point is, I can't see how it's cheaper when we're getting another party involved. Everybody's making money on this and, you know,
It's an economy of scale. When you have every single contractor that has to provide, the general is gonna go out and get bids from 20 other different contractors.
like they always
Each of
had
those
when we
ever,
built here for your town.
say that again?
Like they always have in the past when we built here at Boyertown. That's how it works.
Right, and each one has a markup on their insurance.
Right.
So we're taking that out of their hands, we're not allowing
And
them
we're
to add
taking it
a.
out of their hands and putting it in PSBA's hands. Anytime you add another layer of bureaucracy, government, whatever, into the mix, you're paying more money to that group.
Regardless
So-
of economies of scale. So now, how much overhead is there involved in providing 30 different insurance contracts versus one? You don't think there's a better deal by only writing one, and underwriting one project instead of 30 different insurance companies providing 30 different policies to 30 different contractors?
Oh, no,
That's where the savings has been.
I'm not in the insurance business, it just doesn't make sense to me, we're paying another layer.
Yes, Glenn?
So would it make sense when, if we decide to do this, that we have the two bids so you can see from
If we
them?
want to pay more in insurance, yes.
That makes us pay $2 more?
Well, 2+.
Wow.
No, wait.
We're looking at getting better than $25 per thousand.
Okay.
But it's guaranteed at least $2.
Did you get any references from other districts that have utilized this program as to how much money they felt they saved, or evidence of what their experience was using this type of program?
I could probably get that from the people that utilize the quote method. But most recently, I'd say a majority of the school districts have been using the direct method, just saying, we're gonna cover all the contractors, don't even include that in the bid.
So you're finding that your research says that most school districts that are building or have built within, say, the last 3 years are using this to save dollars?
Yes. Well, there are still some people that say, we don't wanna use the OSIP program for whatever reason. Their board might not agree that they wanna do that. But I know that, you know, we'd like to save as much money as we can on this project, and I believe this is a way to do it.
Ms. Barber?
I guess you made reference to the fact that some school districts are still using the quote basis. Is it possible to find out what school districts those were and talk to those business managers as to why they're using a quote basis versus the direct method?
Sure, I can do that. Probably find out that their board doesn't trust PSBA.
Well, true, but it could be that the business manager themselves presented the reason, a verifiable reason as to why they were making that decision. Maybe that's the recommendation of their administration as to
Okay.
why they went that way.
I can check, I mean, there's several of my peers that I've dealt with over the years that really do believe in this program.
Well, now you're gonna have to contact those that are doing the old way.
The general liability only has $2 and $4 million. You feel that's adequate?
I mean, I told them what the size of this project is.
That wasn't my question. $2 and $4 million, if there's lawsuits, is that much money?
I guess it would
for
depend.
liability?
Yeah, I would think, I mean, it's not like the whole building is gonna fall down, it's not gonna be a $45 million claim. But, you know, that's upwards, 10% of the project.
What amount do you make a contractor bidding on the project carry?
Okay. I don't know.
Well, we're getting, when we figure that out, when we're getting this stuff ready for bid, aren't we in that stage or whatever?
Yeah, when the bid specs are ready to go out, they'll be covered in the non-technical specs.
How much you choose to hit that?
Yeah, I will check to find out.
I'd be interested to know that, because even your excess liability is only $50 million. Your limit?
Which is more than the cost of the entire project.
Donna?
Yeah.
So we're being told. Wait till it's done.
So I remember from the original presentation that we had an experience where we didn't do this, and it was kind of a mess. But what are I might have missed what you said about PSBA's role, but what are the roles around processing the claims? Who's processing the claims?
Well, just as an example, the junior high east program, you know, what happened when the penthouse fell down? It took a couple days to get the adjusters out here to look at it, because the contractors, well, first of all, I think it happened over a weekend, and then the contractors, well, it was your fault, it was your fault. Yeah, with PSBA, they would be here in a very short period of time, because they know they are the sole insurers of this project, and there's no finger pointing prior to, you know, well, it was the plumbing guy's fault, no, it was the electrician's fault. There's only one insurance company involved here, and that they would be more responsive because of it.
So is there an added burden on any of our district staff by going with the OSIP insurance? So PSBA picks up those pieces.
Any other questions? Yes.
Back up to the clarification on, the quote basis is 27 per thousand.
Yes.
And the direct method was 25,000. I
Correct.
mean, $20, $25 per thousand.
Correct.
Okay, then you made a comment in there somehow that if we don't yet ask for a quote basis and a direct method on our bid specs, that we could get even less,
No, if we would go direct,
correct?
and because we have 4 Plan Con projects submitted, show PSBA those 4 Plan Con projects and say, you know, can you include these in as a bulk? You know, because we're looking at a total of 114, whether we do them or not, but, you know, the fact is that the potential's there that Liberty Mutual could give us a better rate because of the economy of the total projects together. And they said that normally adds another 10% reduction, so you're looking at, you know, $22.50.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
When we did the bid for, I know that was years ago, for East, for the addition, what insurance did we require then, if you don't remember?
Well, I presented this, Jay Clough is not a big fan of OSIP, most architects are not, because it reduces the 6% total of the bid price.
Yeah, but
EI
what-
is open to it because it has become more popular, so that was not something we pursued back in
Right, but
2004.
Do you know how much you required the contractors to have?
No, I got the part.
Okay. And I don't know, if we would tell them that we're gonna do all these other projects, and we haven't really decided that yet, number one, and number two, can we tie the hands of any future boards coming in here and say, oh, we committed to this already.
Yeah, that
Well,
would
then
not be.
wouldn't that be DTCing that, because we don't know what we're going to do yet with all the other projects, do we?
No,
Well,
it's the possibility of them doing business. They like to negotiate for more business if it's possible, and they'll give us a better price to keep it attractive.
okay, we have to sign our name with a dotted line, I guess is what I'm asking, I'll cut right to the chase, because maybe by then, if we're gonna do another project, something will come along that's cheaper and better. And we already committed to these people, we're gonna take you.
We would not commit to any more than this project.
Okay. Thank you.
So how does this impact the construction management company, Boy?
They're covered also.
They're covered also. So does that mean that we're taking the responsibility
Well-
that we've got to hire them?
Well, but it's not gonna take the place of their professional liability insurance,
Okay.
but only for the liability of the building of the project. And
So I guess, is it transferring the responsibility for the project from them to us in some way? Like responsibility for the safety and from them to us?
Well, no, they're still going to be held accountable, you know, but they're going to have to go through the safety meetings with the Liberty Mutual adjusters. You know, there's going to be Liberty Mutual adjusters and inspectors on site. But as far as professional liability, we're not taking that responsibility off of the professionals like the architect or the construction manager.
I'd like to get in here. You gave the example of East, you know, about who was responsible for the thing collapsing. You know, and that was a feud between two contractors. On the high school project, we get into a problem where the plumbing and the mechanical contractors and so forth get into a feud about the air conditioning, what the temperature would be and stuff like that. And I think we used our own attorneys we had attorney fees to battle that thing to finally come up with some solution, some resolution. And it took us a couple of years. Would we still have attorney fees for this?
Well, I mean, anytime there would be possible litigation.
But if it's a feud between two contractors, who would handle it? Would we have to do it with our attorneys, or would they be doing that?
I'm not sure that would fit into, I mean, if it would be poor construction, you mean? I mean, I mean, this is liability insurance, workers' comp
They weren't
insurance.
following specs. And one outfit changed the piping side, because the other one had their own temperature in the cooling and things of that nature.
I don't think that would be an insurable incident, though.
Well, but we had a battle to get it corrected. Would this insurance company help us?
I could check on that, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be an insurance.
Because there
claim.
was a lot of legal fees involved in that resolution there. Okay, Ruth.
I guess I got more confused now. The management company we just hired, are we paying something for their insurance too? Do they fit in with this package?
Yes, they do.
Well, did they give us a discount on their bid?
Well, that's why we need to make a decision, so that when they send us their contract and it includes some kind of insurance, we can let them know that we want to do the OSIP, and they can remove that from their quote of $974,000.
Yeah, because I'm still wondering about that 300 extra thousand they're getting. I hope it wasn't for insurance.
Okay, well, I think we drove this one down to the water.
So I will check on the insurability of contractors, who finds out whether the contractors are insurable, the amount of insurance that's required, what the minimums are, the 2 and the 4 million, and I'll find out about the builder. I guess it's more of a constructability issue
Yeah.
of the HVAC system at the high school.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they would,
We did it, who was gonna correct the problem? we couldn't get anybody to agree to correct it. Yes,
When do we need to determine,
Before the bids go out, so it would be the September, October timeframe.
okay,
but we don't need
So
an
we have
answer,
time.
right now. We have a chance to get some,
But I did have the questions last week when the D&E were approved as to why it did say OSIP on there.
because we had approved that, I think that was why.
Exactly, but it wasn't explained very well the first time. Hopefully I answered some questions, and I will get these answered also.
okay, next item is land acquisition.
Okay, I was asked by several board members to include an item on this facility's agenda that had to do with a property that adjoins our property that is going to be up for sale. In the meantime, another property that is for sale, not under the same circumstances. The first one is up for sheriff's sale on June 5th, or June 7th at 10 a.m. So we're looking at about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks till that sheriff's sale. And I wanted to bring it up to the board as a possible acquisition, if the board felt it was something that we should pursue, or whether we should just let this opportunity go by. So that the property the first property that I let you know about was the property that's right next to Colbrookdale Elementary, right up the street. That's the last house right next to the parking lot. And that is going up for sale on June 7th. We got notice from Sheriff Weekneck that apparently the mortgage company is at 217, I thought it was 226. No, 216, I'm sorry. So that's what they're asking for. Obviously, at sheriff's sale, it's a bidding process.
Is that free and clear?
I think the 216 is not free and clear.
So there could be other things,
There
I
could be.
guess. And did you look at, what will we use it for?
Well, if we're gonna be looking at Colbrookdale in the future as one of the projects that could double in size,
How much land's with that? How much?
There's 2 tracks.
What are purchased?
What are purchased?
I was wondering that too.
That's 16 something, isn't it?
I don't even think there's a half acre there.
so it's 70 purchased, whatever those are.
Do we have any what the property's worth?
Well, it's not worth 216, I'll tell you that.
Well, I think we can research it as to what it's sold for, because it has sold, it was up for sale in the last 5 years, so.
The bad part is you can't get every seat.
Right, but I'm just saying that at the last purchase price.
But if you want to rip it down anyway, it doesn't matter what it looks like.
Exactly.
But if it's not free and clear, before you stick your foot in there, somebody better start doing some checking.
Right, that would be the other thing we could do. And then,
And like I said, I don't even think it's gonna have to be a lot of money to pay for a little bit of ground.
but I mean, like, if it's a bidding, and it's, I assume it goes to the highest bidder, so.
Unless the bank takes it back.
Right.
That's true.
So, because I remember that it was up like, whatever it was at least half or less than half. I
But
mean,
even so, you have that expense and you have the expense of ripping it down. For how much ground?
well, just to add my 2 cents, I think that it would be good if we picked up the next 2 properties after that too, if they became available. because they want to have that land between Boyertown
That's-
and our
that's a big if.
maintenance.
That's a
Oh,
big
I
if.
know.
How long are you willing to wait?
Right, but they've been up various times within the last 5 to 8 years. You know, and had we been thinking in that direction, you know, to be able to access the land between there and our maintenance center, then that would have been a good acquisition. So I'm thinking that we could start now small and continue.
Well, we have, what we're trying to decide right now is, do we want to, the administrator, to look into, at this purchase, and we have a lot of questions, like what is the property worth? Is it free and clear? How many acres? And we have another meeting before then?
Oh, we could do an actual action if you wanted to authorize a bid up to a certain amount, either on the 28th or June 4th. So we actually have 2 official meetings.
Well, I'd like to, yes, go ahead.
It's 0.48125 acres.
0.4,
40. Course they have to make it.
0.48125.
less than a half acre. And $216,000. That's pretty high.
But that's
That's
all
what I think.
what the mortgage is, that doesn't give you all the other stuff.
Yeah.
That's,
Sheriff costs and everything else.
and that's if only if someone bids that high. And the bank doesn't take that, so I mean, it could go for $50,000.
Right.
Do we know, can we learn the value that the bank, like the minimum bid?
Well, there is a
It
mortgage.
is the 260.
So the bank would take it back if the bid's done for that
Oh,
high?
I'm not saying that, it depends on the bank, it depends on a lot of things, but you're not gonna get it for 50,000.
No.
The interesting thing about sheriff's sales, you see 100 items listed, on the sale day it's down to about 25.
Exactly. And the rest of them,
The rest of them settle before it goes to sale. Do we want to investigate more time, spend more time investigating this?
I do,
What?
I do.
No?
Because it can't hurt to keep investigating. I just can't imagine that we're gonna be able to bid so low that you think it would be worth it.
No?
I would think that it has to be pretty low for just a half acre.
So then, we're all saying we should be investigating it, but don't assume that we're interested until we find out more.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll include the information in this week's packet.
Okay?
The other property that I just became aware of is a garage on Philadelphia Avenue. So it's around the bend at Swamp Pike, where Vermont Motors used to be. And it would give us basically a backdoor entrance into Gilbertsville. I just don't know how the access would, because there's a field in between there also.
And who owns that? Somebody else?
Zerns, it's the Zerns garage.
That's not going with us.
This is Bill's.
I don't know, is a trailer going, do you know, is a trailer going with it, because that's where his dad used to have it. And he's renting it out. Because he used to own the property straight through where the Gilbertsville playground is, well, the ball field. But then we purchased the woods on the other side of the ball field. So the right-of-way, he couldn't, he didn't need the right-of-way, because he did have a right-of-way that would go through the ball field at Gilbertsville. So I don't know, I mean, he had the trailer where his dad lived, was right there next to the baseball field.
I guess the question is, I thought we expanded Gilbertsville as much as we wanted to, not to make it any larger, so why would we want to buy more ground? Just a question.
No, I think that's a good question.
For 800,000, 900,000 or whatever it is.
Well, you know, the real estate agent contacted me, and her approach was to give us access because of traffic issues on Conway Road.
800,000, we're gonna have a lot of
Yeah.
issues.
But again, we're just putting this on here as information.
I'm glad you're looking, yeah.
We wouldn't
Well, that's-
really use it for anything else except access instead.
Yeah, as it stands right now, we were willing to look at the Colebrookdale. How about the garage? No?
I don't think so.
No? No? Okay. So the garage is not an issue.
Unless you need room for your Dutch ball.
Okay, the next bullet item we have is the ACE grant. I know that we talked about this at the last meeting we had. It was presented as a suggestion from EI Associates that the board come up with a letter to send to DCED to possibly sway them to approve the $2 million grant that we've requested. So I wanted to bring that to the facility committee again to possibly discuss the development of a letter signed by the board.
And what is the timing around that? Don't they have meetings every
Well-
2 weeks or something?
I thought it was every 2 months.
2
I
months.
said June, I thought you
Okay.
said.
We should, it was May 7th, so we're looking at probably July, or whatever that
Well, he
Tuesday.
said June when he was here. They would be up again in June. Or it would go back in June. and
Well, I think it's
for
considered
July.
at the end
Yeah,
of June
yeah,
and
yes.
awarded in the beginning of July.
Didn't you do a letter? What did you do? You did something.
We had a sample from another firm.
Dave sent.
Okay, I thought I had something.
Yeah, there was a draft I sent you, which was from Ben Salem School District,
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
just as a format of what they
I
use.
think it's a good idea to draft a letter to them, you know, and possibly share, you know, where we are in the project.
How would you like to proceed with, should we draft something and then have the board look at it before they?
I think if you draft something, we meet with Rob on Thursday to set the agenda, we could review it then, and then put it in the board packet. And so I guess put it on the agenda. I think it would be a wise thing to do, because anybody that, you know, we need more than just me
Yeah.
saying that, to say to move it forward. But that's what we could do.
Do we need a board action to do that?
Well, we do with resolutions and things like that, I'm thinking it's kind of like a letter, if you're gonna sign it, the board needs to agree that the board's being signed, the majority of the board needs to say, yes, sign Boyertown Area School District School Board to it. So I would think that it would have to be some sort of motion. I can check with Jeff and find out for sure.
The timing, since we have until June, we have a couple of meetings in between here. I wonder if it's worth putting on, compressing the time to get on the board meeting at the next board meeting. Now, could we wait another meeting after that?
Sure, the next meeting is the week after on June 4th.
Yeah.
I guess we could do that.
A little more, it'd give more time for development, and we wouldn't be rushing into something that we probably shouldn't be giving a lot of thought to.
Because June 4th would give it enough time to get there for the end of June.
Sure.
And
Yes.
that would give you time to check with Jeff.
I was gonna say, should you consult with EI as far as what to put in that letter? Because they said the initial piece there, would there be any benefit to ask them what should be put in that letter to
Well,
sweeten?
they're actually the ones that provided the Ben Salem
Oh,
example
okay.
to us.
Okay.
And it's interesting that they sent that letter to the lieutenant governor. And that surprised me. I think it might be wise to investigate who we're gonna send it to. I'm not sure, Lieutenant Governor is the one that we should be sending a letter like that to. I think I like that. Somebody closer to the group or the governor himself.
Well, actually, the individual that EI provided me a name, it was Mr. Erickson, that I sent the letter to June or May 4th, that Friday before. And he said he's one of the critical decision makers at DCED.
I think that probably better have the letter go to him than to the attorney.
Unless somebody knows the lieutenant governor or the governor person.
What are you looking at me for? Jeez. Can't help but have friends, higher places.
Okay, well, the feeling is that we want to investigate that letter and have something for June 4th meeting.
We'll get you a draft this week.
Yeah. I hope it's not a letter of futility.
I hope so also. A lot of money. Okay, and the last item we have on our discussions is the HVAC system at the Bash construction project. As we let you know at the meeting last Tuesday, we had our project team meeting on the 14th, and we had a company by the name of Airedale. They came in, they have a unit ventilator box truck that has an example of the actual units that, various units that they provide. And they showed them to everybody on the project team, Paul and Dr. Musso and Dr. Cooper, myself, Lee Horn, members of Moore Engineering and EI, actually had a presentation, and we looked at the closets that would house this HVAC equipment. We went back in after the demo, and we discussed 7 different items with the ultimate decision to stay LEED Gold, because we know that we have to stay LEED Gold to get the $2 million from the ACE grant. So based on the elimination of what we get as silver versus what we get as gold, it left us with, I think it was 4 of the 7. One was outrageously expensive. Another one didn't quite fit what we were looking for, and what that left us with was 2 geothermal systems, one with larger compressors and one with smaller but more numerous compressors. And Paul had his input as far as the ongoing maintenance for this equipment, and felt that with the larger and fewer compressors probably would be a little bit harder to maintain because of the size of the compressors. So what we decided as the project team was to go with the smaller compressors in the geothermal program as our HVAC system. So,
any questions or comments? Yes, Don?
I know after the first presentation, at some point after that, we were looking at a hybrid, and so that kind of, we could get gold if we did the hybrid.
I think the hybrid was the larger compressor, correct? Yes.
Okay. And it would, you think it would be more maintenance for the larger, fewer compressors?
Well, it would be more of a concern that we would need more manpower to handle what would the compressors go, about 150, 175 pounds?
The concern was the size of the compressors and physically moving them in and out of difficult spaces.
So installation?
Replacement.
Replacement.
I missed that. What did you say?
Replacement.
Replacement. What's the life of them?
Not as old as you, John.
I realize that.
Really like your job, don't you?
Maybe 20. I mean, I've had compressors go bad in 6 months.
Well, if you pick the right one, it'll last longer. Look at my wife, I picked her.
I'm calling it. Are you done? one?
20
I
years.
had another one, but I'll
No,
wait.
go ahead, Lynn.
Okay, so the first analysis that was done was based on a school similar to ours, but now that we know more about our design, was there a more detailed analysis done?
Well, there was, we got the results back of our, what do they call them, conductivity tests, and we are highly conductive, and it would be, I guess that's the word, right?
That's a good thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, you know, we would be able to, Paul, you can probably better explain this.
The wells would perform better. And so instead of needing, say, 500, maybe we only need 400, maybe we only need 300 wells, because you get more capacity, better performance out of each well. So because the ground is more thermally conductive, and that's what the test showed.
So you're saying that makes it less, maybe less expensive than we originally thinking?
Correct.
Yes.
Obviously, if you can drill 100, 150, or 200 less wells, that's definitely going to save us some money.
I'm finished with my question.
Yes, Drew?
Okay, just so I understand, we're gonna do each unit separate in the room, in the closet. That's what we said the other week when we had the meeting.
Correct.
Each one separate, each one, does it, just like a Watton has, or however you say that.
Not exactly. The units they look like a closet, so it's a big box, and the box will sit up against the outside wall, but it's not in a closet per se, like you would see at a watch. It's actually more accessible.
Wasn't that gonna take up any valuable classroom space?
Yeah, what did we figure, Dave? It was three
3 by 2?
yeah, it was 12 square feet or something. It wasn't, it's not a lot of space.
30 inches by 60, I think is what they said.
Hold on, Tuesday, it's like 12 square feet or something. It's not
So,
very big, it's not real big. It's smaller than a unit ventilator.
but now they're not gonna be tucked away,
Correct.
and we don't feel we took up any classroom space for the kids? We're still okay there? I don't wanna do this thing and then come back and say, well, now we have to have 2 less children in there.
Well, all the unit ventilators that are currently in there will be removed and replaced with these units. So if you can picture the unit ventilators, which are long lateral type of closets, this one's more upright. It'll take up actually less square footage floor space than the
But it's
unit
gonna be
vent.
outside in the hallway?
Outside wall where the windows might be right now.
It's vented.
Okay. Okay, well then why did EI tell us last meeting that we're getting the ones, I asked him, I specifically asked, just like they have up at Exeter, I'm not saying it again.
Oh, what?
Why? It's similar.
And
I
why
think
did they
that's
tell
all
me
you
it was
should
like that?
follow.
That's what, I don't think anybody knows what they're doing, to be honest with y'all. I really don't. Everything changes from one meeting to the next. Now it's something different again.
It's not really different, it's similar. You have one unit
If
serving
it's
one
not the same,
space.
it's similar, it's different.
If I put the unit in the closet or I put it up against the wall, it's still the unit per se. So it's not, you have a dedicated unit serving a dedicated space, giving you the function and the controls that you want. Whether I had that unit in a closet
Let's
and
play
have to
devil's
build the
advocate then.
closet,
Why did we change our mind?
we saw a decent option, we saw a good option with the company. There's 50 companies out there making equipment. You know, whose do you choose to use? Well, hopefully you choose somebody that makes a quality piece of equipment that will give you good service and good efficiency. We saw one example. There's another 30 out there that we'll probably investigate before we're done. Maybe before we're done, we go back to closets. We're not cast in stone right now, we're just agreeing to do a certain type of design. The engineer has to investigate and do all his research. There's a lot of work to be done. So, you know, I think it's a little premature to be critical of what people are trying to accomplish. We just decided we're going to use a geothermal system. Now we have to go and do the design and all the legwork associated with it.
Well, we had the same architect and they used that where his job was before, so I guess I'm getting confused. Maybe that wasn't a good fit for that place then.
You finished with?
Yes?
guess the question I have is about the lead gold. And if we don't get the $2 million grant, then are we still going lead gold? Or would we then be not necessarily lead gold? Are we going for lead gold architecturally? And this grant, because we're going lead gold, would provide us with $2 million. If the grant doesn't come through, then are we back to lead silver, or are we still going for lead gold recognition?
Well, we have to make a decision as far as the HVAC system goes. That is probably the largest decision that's gonna make us the most points to qualify for lead gold. We believe that that's what we need to do, because, you know, if we don't, then we can write ourselves off from getting that $2 million grant. If we don't get the $2 million grant, then there's, the decision's been made to go with the HVAC, and we believe it's gonna save us money going forward. There's other issues that we probably wouldn't have to pursue if lead gold is then not an option, or not a decision that we won't go with. But I think with the fact that we want to get that ACE grant, we have to go into this decision that we need to be lead gold.
Okay, so that's what we're doing to get the grant, but come July 15th, the grant people say no.
Okay, well, the decision's been made as far as HVAC goes. Then we might be able to scale back on other lead or other factors in the building that might gain us more points. You know, there's the water collection, there's the natural vegetative roofs, there's, you know, those kind of things that are
Well, could you have EI then send us all of the advantages of going to lead gold, having this be a lead gold project, irregardless of whether we get the $2 million grant?
yeah.
All the advantages of this being a lead gold project to the school district, irregardless of whether we get the $2 million grant or not.
So it would help you make a decision to go lead gold whether we get the $2 million or not.
I'm trying to figure out about this HVA system and how that plays into the lead gold with the grant, and why you're saying that we still have made a decision now on HVAC when we haven't put this out to bid yet. So those are all my sort of questions, so I guess I want to move back to square one and say, okay, what benefits are provided by being a lead gold project? What are the benefits for a lead silver project to the school district, irregardless of getting any grant money?
The cost of the project will remain within the confines that we've already established, correct?
That's the plan.
And the $2 million, if we get it, would just drop that cost down. And we'd have to finance $2 million less.
Any other questions? My comments on the HVAC. My recollection of the past was that we had 4 or 5 or 6 options, and we were investigating, trying to reduce them down to, now we're down to 1 or 2, but we still have some work to do on finalizing it. But as I see it, we have made some real progress on the HVAC by eliminating a lot of options already. So I think we're working in the right direction, but we're ready to lock the door and put the cat out. Yes.
I do have did you want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, even last week, we were late in making this decision. We thought by getting the ACE grant, last week, noticed that, this is the way we're going. they have to start the design of this building. And they're gonna be designing it with the geothermal that will get us to LEED Gold.
This is just a byproduct of, the LEED Gold byproduct of what we've decided is the administration and the engineering group together to recommend that we have a geothermal system that's what's called a traditional geothermal system, not with a VAV, variable air volume system. But these closets, which we thought were very workable, take up less. They also brought some standard unit ventilators, and we know what the standard unit ventilators look like in this building in the high school now. This takes up much less space, and it's easier to maintain because they're accessible closets. You don't have to climb up on the roof, you don't have to go above the ceiling. The maintenance folks can fix the system by walking into a classroom and after school and fixing it. And they're smaller compressors, and the crew can easily move one out and move one in. And that's the basis of decision that we made last Tuesday, at least the group to recommend. We're not really hesitating on that, but we need to move forward so that the design of the building can move forward. And after looking at all these options, 7 different ones, again last week, and we've been narrowing it down, we narrowed it to 2, and now we've said the group that is the project team is saying, we think this geothermal system, which is now traditional, not the hybrid that we were talking about. This is a system that will provide, and because the conductivity is so good, it's going to be less expensive to operate in the long term, and will save the district money. So that's the savings, regardless of whether we get a grant or not. And that's a long-term savings. And you know, and again, Paul's team has looked at it. He had a number of folks there looking at whether this is going to be better than a variable air volume system that's really up above the ceiling, right? And easier to maintain in that way. So that's the recommendation, and they can't really proceed with the design of the school without deciding what kind of HVAC we're putting. So it's really, we really haven't narrowed it to, we've narrowed it from 1.
We have, okay. Yes.
It would have been nice to have some literature to look at, so we could try to understand better also what's happening. And Gwen's question was, okay, if we don't get the grant, we'll get $2 million less. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Barbara's asking if all these things we have to do in order to apply for the $2 million, do they come out to less than $2 million or more? I think that's what some part of your question was. And if not, that's the question I have.
That's your question. That's your question.
It won't get answered, then it's my question. Thank you.
Yes.
I was referring back to, did I get? I was referring back to some notes. We did ask that question before, and I wrote down that they said it would be a $50,000 investment to get to gold. And I don't remember what that
I
was
have that too.
on. Do you have that too? And the other thing I was referring to was the report on the HVAC system from EI in one of their reports to us. And in there, which we haven't talked about today, they talked about the payback period. And it was like it said 8.75 years. So now that we know more about our actual design, and now that the geothermal testing has been done, what do we think that payback is?
I don't think it's a whole lot different than what you saw before. When we sat here and talked about HVAC back in January, I think when I talked to you and presented what I thought were the different options, I thought the board was very positive about geothermal for a few reasons. Number one, the actual cost was less, at least that's what the engineer's telling us, that's what his estimate was. The operating costs were much less, to the tune of about $100,000 a year, I believe. And I thought the school board, I mean, there was discussions that night about, okay, over 20 years, that's $2 million savings. So I thought there was a lot of positive input from the school board that night, that this is, you know, something that we would seriously consider. as Dr. Musil said, we can't sit here and debate HVAC design for the next 6 months if we want the project out for bid. The engineer has to move forward. I go back to junior high east when I was still here, and I think Dr. Musil was here. The school board, we didn't even debate or discuss design details like this with the school board. That was an engineering professional thing that was done based on their decisions, their knowledge, their experience, input from everybody that was involved. So I think the school board has had a very good chance to review and look at what we're doing, but I don't think that you should be critical right now of the decision that's been made with input from me, input from Lee, input from my mechanics, and the engineers who are the main guys doing the design. They know what they're doing. They understand the repercussions of this design. They've seen it implemented successfully in many schools. It's one of the future ways to do HVAC design that wasn't even available to us 10 years ago for the most part. So,
Can I follow up on that? 'Cause I hope you didn't take me as being critical. I didn't mean to be critical, but I was kind of referring to Mrs. Darrell's point that we don't have anything in front of us tonight. And we did have all that material, but we've seen a lot of stuff since January on a million different topics. So I had this in front of me, so I feel pretty comfortable, but everybody doesn't have that in front of them tonight. So
It's not different anyway.
And it would be refined, it would be refined if it was seeing something like it again tonight. But-
I guess usually you get something, you get nothing.
Well,
Did you send us some? Did you get literature or anything?
Well, we can revive what Mrs. Hussain
It's
was
from
saying.
the January 16th,
No, no, I'm talking about what they're looking at, what they're asking us to approve. Has to be literature out there.
well, I don't think it's necessary to approve individual items. You know,
We're not, that's what we're
But
asking.
the process that we want is geothermal, and I think that's what we have to decide on. And like I said, though, they could send me the information, but I don't want to get involved in picking the color of the units or something like that, or the design. Because, you know,
I want a color
it's
for
not-
every
it's-
room, different
I
color.
expect the administration will take care of that. Rob can pick the colors.
I'm staying out of this.
Okay, yeah, that's what you think.
Yeah, we can put it up to the
All right,
project.
just so I'm clear, all right, geothermal is what we had talked about before, we said, go with that.
Right.
And so the HVAC system is hooked with the geothermal, all right. The grant, we had asked, or EI said about the grant, so we said, okay, do the grant because we could save $2 million. But at that point, if we didn't get the grant, were we thinking no to geothermal? I thought we were going with geothermal whether we got the grant or not,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't matter at this point whether
Yeah.
we get the grant.
Right, I'm just asking for the advantages to the school district of lead gold versus lead silver. You know, what are we gaining by each of those?
Okay,
I
well,
don't know that we've ever received information on.
I think we've worked this one down to the fact that we're gonna go with it. Next, you finished?
I am.
Next item is public comment. Okay, she changed her mind, Janet.
Yeah, I have two things for you. As far as the property that you're talking about out here on Montgomery Avenue, when you buy a property at sale, at the sheriff's sale, you assume all expenses that go with that. And Berks Montgomery has liens against that property. And we were notified today that that was postponed again. It's not gonna go off on June 7th or whatever it was. And also, as far as your contractors go, I don't know if this is for large companies, but Pennsylvania passed a law that any contractor has to have a number from Pennsylvania in order to do work. So I don't know if it's your large contractors or not, but we look into that because we have people, plumbers and contractors and whatever that we have to deal with. So that's all, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? How about board comments? I have one that has been bothering me about the ad hoc committee. Now, we are sincere in asking people to get involved in how to work with the old building. But I have a problem with the fact that we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this in our recommendation. You know, it's not going to be used for this, it's not going to be used for that. And somehow, if we're going to get people involved to do this, I think we're insulting them by telling what the answer is going to be before we ask them. So I'd like to, before I vote on that, I'd like to have that reviewed.
Do you wanna do that now, John?
Not necessarily, no.
Well,
Well, you got my impact. My feeling is, we're asking people to help us, and I don't wanna sit back and say, this is what you gotta do. And that's what I saw in that procedure.
that's what was scheduled.
What's that?
Correct.
So, I'd like to have that reviewed before we bring it up for a board vote, because as it is right now, I can't vote for it. I would be insulting the people that are sincere.
Well, then, I have another question as to whether it should be an ad hoc committee, or it should just be a committee set up through the administration. The last time we were here, the board wanted to be in charge of it. However, my understanding, an ad hoc committee is board members, and then they would bring people in to be periodically be part of the committee, I guess. And the draft that was given to us on 5-3 said that the committee would include a variety of different people, as Mr. Haddad said tonight, he would like to be on the committee, and he recommended Mr. Kelly also. So, you know, I personally had a bit of a problem with having it be directed by the board as an ad hoc committee.
Okay.
So I don't know what, and that's what this group had said. I don't know if that's what you still want to do, because it makes it, I think it, there have been so many committees that I've been on that administration has set up. For instance, when we had, well, I was on one for a special ed type of an issue, and that was a great committee. It included a lot of people. It was big. People came in, we talked, we got a lot accomplished in meetings that were run very efficiently. And another one was that banking committee, the credit union. I know I wasn't on that committee, but I know some other board members were. And that was done very efficiently with all the parameters set up. So I just, the ad hoc committee feels uncomfortable to me just because.
Okay, well, I guess maybe I'm supporting you on that, because if we're gonna put those limitations, really, the only one I want to see at the bottom as a goal of that committee is I don't want the building setting idle, which is what basically we're not utilizing it as we should right now, but it's being used. But the goal 10 years ago was to leave it set idle, and I don't want that. I don't want that as a goal of our committee, our board. Okay, any other comments? Yes.
Barbara had her hand up first.
Oh, okay, well, I'm looking at the draft, and I believe that the way this came was the draft came from the administration to us, so if we're not looking at an ad hoc committee, and this is what their recommendation is, and what you're objecting to is all of section 1 of their draft. So I think the section 2 seems to be what you're saying, is study the possible uses for the structure, and recommendations will be collected from the community, school district staff, and other communities that have developed uses for a form of school
I could
buildings.
support that.
You know, and then I think the other thing that the board also had and it was to collect information about impacts regarding the possible uses. So if they were looking at something, what was for parking, funding, cost. But the other thing I believe the board brought up was the committee itself, that they wanted, this was a very limited number for a committee, and I think what I'm hearing different committees that we have sat on previously, there was a larger number of representation on the committee itself, from the community, you know, from the administration, from the professional staff, all the way through all the classified, you know, people that live in the district and stuff like that. So it wasn't like a school board member, you know, a school administrator, a high school administrator. It was a group of people that worked on it.
Well, I'm in favor of that, but I just didn't like to say that we had the answer right now. Go look at it.
I wanted to comment on both.
Well, I figured we should
Yeah.
say something.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on both those issues. So, Mrs. Simmons, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's run by the board or by the administration, but there needs to be like authentic input from the community, however that's done. You know, if it was an ad hoc committee, maybe we invite people at different points. Or if it's a administration-run committee, it could just include all those people. And I think that's the point you were making.
Yeah.
And then, which might be the simpler and more straightforward way to do it. And then with respect to those parameters, I think the reason for having those parameters there was so that we could move forward with the high school renovation project. And I think that was an attempt to separate the two, and maybe there's a better way to say it. Maybe we could just say that the newer portions of the high school are within the scope of the Bash renovation project, and that's a separate project. This committee can't really interfere with those plans without express approval of the board, or something like that.
Good.
Okay, well, I think it needs some work before we go.
Well, it really just does need direction as to how it should be established, because I don't think that this is something, I personally think we need to move forward on this and get an answer. It's dragging on. So the
Rob's
question
up his hand there,
is,
he don't want to be involved.
No, I just wanted to
His
make a
hand.
comment from the administration, when, I didn't mean to interrupt Mrs. Simmons, but whatever.
go ahead, interrupt me, I interrupt.
No.
Go ahead.
Just to clarify, I think some board members have said that, yet when we came, the draft I think you're looking at was a recommendation, certainly not the end all, from administration. When we originally brought it to the board, we brought it with that it would be a large, broad base, and we put some ideas of the kinds of stakeholders that would be on it, but that was our intent, that it was not I guess we came into it not thinking an ad hoc committee, but a large group getting a lot of input, and certainly we had offered our support to help facilitate that or pull that together. It appeared in the last meeting to us that changed, you know, through the board's discussion. So certainly whether, you know, the board wants to take a look at that draft, or whether you'd like the administration to take a look at that draft, take some input. I agree, I think, and I don't want to put words in anything, I think Mrs. Savage, it could work in different formats. But just to clarify, that was our original intent, is that it would be a large group, mixed stakeholders, get a lot of input, be efficient in time, be well-run, and, you know, we know that time is of the essence, so that's what we want to do.
We need a timetable, you know, in the action, but I don't want the answer before we talk about it.
Understood, I think you bring up a good point.
Okay,
So what are we doing? And Mrs. Deeroff has had a question on this for a while.
yes.
I just wanted to know why it had to be either an ad hoc committee or a committee run by administration. Why can't it just be a committee? And Mrs. Simmons appointed board members, she can appoint other people from the community. I don't know why we have to. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
like a committee of the whole that we
Okay.
have now?
No. Okay, it needs some work, and I don't think we're in a position to do it.
But are we in agreement that we'd like maybe the administration to lead this? It sounds like we're rethinking that whole idea from last time.
Well, I'm hearing, I think what I'm hearing is, it might work if we can add a key board member and an administrator coordinating the committee, where everyone would sit around the table, no? What I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Not what I'm saying.
Well, I'm confused, Ruth. How did you want it to do?
It's not how I want it, it's up to the whole board.
Right,
So
but
why can't we just, you pick 4 board members.
Right, I did.
So you could pick community
They
members.
volunteer, yeah.
Well, whatever, there's some more volunteer
Right,
tonight.
we have 2 more.
Get them on the committee, get a meeting set, and then let's add from there.
Yeah.
So you're,
I mean, we're
So-
just stumbling around for how
right,
long?
we need to move forward with it, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean,
That's
you
why we
appointed a
keep-
chair, you got there's some board members, right? Got 2 more volunteers tonight, and they've been contributing a lot at meetings, and I think they know what they're doing.
Right,
So let's get their meeting started and have more people contact if they want to be on. And if not, we can do it by word of mouth.
so it's not an ad hoc committee, but the board's in charge of it in this situation. I think we have to have an administrator working with the board, and then do exactly what you're saying. The board can choose to take recommendations from the administration for the members from
And
the
if the
school
board
district
chooses members to
administration
be on.
and high school, you can choose that. I think,
I resign. Yeah, it's this hard just to get a committee going, I think we're
I
getting
know,
it
it's-
done.
that's a
can't
good
resign.
question. I
You
thought we
weren't
were moving
appointed yet.
forward before.
Okay, well, let's go through the announcement, we'll have to work on that some more, but it's an item that is important, but the process needs to be developed. Okay.
So who does that lie with? Does that come in line with administration or the board? As to who's responsible for
That's
bringing
you
it
and
back?
Gwen and Rob can figure that out
Okay.
at your Thursday meeting.
Okay, and board members and anybody else, people that are interested and would like to volunteer to be on the committee, need to get their names to either Mr. Scalori or to myself. So we can move forward and have something in place by the next board meeting. Which is
Okay.
next Tuesday.
And were we putting it then on the agenda to be approved by the board, or is it an administrative committee?
I'll find out how we have to do that, because I
Okay.
didn't do it right the last time.
Yeah, we need to move with this, because EI keeps saying, well, we can wait 2 years because we're gonna need the
We can't
facility.
wait.
No, we can't wait 2 years. We need, that's what, 92, they let it sit. The building, you know, the chain made something, we need, this is not rocket science in getting this thing together.
I
We
don't-
just need representation so we can talk about it, and then the committee may need to be enlarged. Because we need
Well-
more input, we're gonna have to get more input from the community and from the board and from the administration.
So the direction is clearly been given, it's not an ad hoc committee from the board, from what I've heard, that it is a committee, because, you know, my personal preference is that board people sit on the committee for all the meetings. Okay, we'll get it going. Next
Okay.
meeting will be set.
Announcements, on May 28th, 5:30, a curriculum meeting at Boyertown Elementary, and May 28th at 7 PM, a school board meeting at Boyertown Elementary. I need a motion to adjourn.
And everybody-
Everybody's returned.